Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the Tuesday, July 15th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Delal Worrell, is predicting a 0.3% growth in Barbados' economy this year. Speaking during his review of Barbados' economic performance for the first half of 2014, Dr. Worrell says the expected growth is based on a forecast of performance in the foreign exchange sectors. He is also expecting the economy to pick up in subsequent years to 1.2% in 2015 and 2.5% growth in 2016.
The fiscal adjustment measures taken by the Barbados government between August 2013 and March this year appear to have begun to restore the balance of inflows and outflows of foreign exchange. And the foreign exchange reserve trends for the first 6 months of the year reverted to the pattern of the years from 2009 to 2012. Reserves declined by $51 million compared to a fall of $119 million on average for those years. At the end of June, the stock of reserves stood at $1,093 million, representing 15.1 weeks of import reserve cover.
Dr. Worrell says a slight reduction has also been achieved in the deficit, while job cuts in the public sector reduced government's wage bill by $20 million.
The overall deficit for the first quarter was $214 million, $5 million lower than for the same period last year. The primary deficit for the quarter improved by $30 million to $21 million. Preliminary estimates for the first quarter of the fiscal year show a $5 million decline in government revenue, with VAT receipts down $8 million, corporate tax receipts down $3 million, and other indirect taxes down $4 million compared to last year.
Leader of the opposition Barbados Labour Party, Mia Motley, is chiding Dr. Worrell for not holding a press conference following the bank's quarterly review. Ms. Motley says this decision is totally unacceptable. In a release, Ms. Motley said Barbadians more than ever needed to hear from Dr. Worrell on the state of the economy, the results of his road trip, how government is going to finance the deficit, and the state of Barbados reserves. According to Ms. Motley, these issues have to be addressed as the government cannot boost confidence in the economy by hiding and shirking away from the real facts. She said the government also has to tell Dr. Worrell it is unsatisfactory that key economic data continues to be missing after each quarterly review. A recent call from the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or BCCI, to have taxes owed to government by its members offset by monies owed to them may require legislative change. This from Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Chris Sinclair, who made the comment as he met with the new president and executive of the BCCI this week to look at a number of issues related to the economy. Brian Broom has more.
The wide-ranging discussions covered topics such as the municipal solid waste tax, the value-added tax, public transportation, and health. In relation to the municipal solid waste tax, the BCCI team, led by President Tracy Shuffler, put their case to have the taxes owed by members offset by monies owed to them by government. They also asked government to consider an extension of the tax deadline from July 28th to year-end without penalties being incurred. Mr. Sinclair explained that offsetting monies owed for goods and services against taxes due might call for legislative change. He promised to discuss the Chamber's proposals with senior officers in his ministry and other related government departments to see if and how they could be implemented. The minister also disclosed that the entire system of taxation was being reformed, and the establishment of the Barbados Revenue Authority, or BRA, was in response to this. The finance minister said one objective is to improve the 77% collection rate considered okay globally to between 80 and 85%. He said such an increase would have a very positive impact on the system. Mr. Sinclair also promised the business representatives that as the BRA settled in to carry out its mandate, they could expect to receive their VAT refunds in a more timely manner. In addition to Ms. Shuffler, The BCCI team consisted of Executive Director Lisa Gale and Executive Members Eddie Abed, Ricky Went, and Edward Clark. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
In the face of continuing challenges, Barbados Parliament is being told to give consideration to the establishment of a Finance and Foreign Committee. Opposition MP for St. James Central Kerry Simmons provided some insight into the proposal as debate continued on the Economic Partnership Agreement Bill 2013.
The way forward is paved with a number of challenges which we are not going to overcome by reducing this to a partisan political debate. The way forward is paved with a number of challenges, ma'am, which we are only going to be able to overcome if we are able to sit down and craft from the very best of our abilities the way forward and chart a vision for Barbados as a country with a future in the realm of international trade and international economics and finance.
Mr. Simmons has also criticized calls by a senior businessman for a return of the environmental levy.
It riveted home in my mind the importance of the point that I am making, because you can't call for a return of an environmental levy when the environmental levy was moved specifically because of the fact that it conflicts in a material and sharp way with our trade obligations within this region. And so we cannot be part of a trade agreement in which we are promoting our own well-being and from which we are deriving improved and increasing advantages for our people, and at the same time be calling on a return to the bad old days of a bad old approach.
Gunplay in Britain's Hill has resulted in the death of a youth from the area and 2 others nursing gunshot wounds. Dead is 20-year-old Dario Ricardo Lloyd of Reese Road. Meanwhile, 24-year-old LeRon Motley and 14-year-old Micaiah Knight had to be hospitalized. Shane Seeley visited the area this morning.
The persistent rain here in Britain's Hill today cannot wash away the pain and the fear that residents in the area now feel when they think about what happened here last night. Just after 9:45, a group of people were playing dominoes right behind where I stand when a group of men rolled in and opened fire on the crowd. When the dust settled, 3 young men, ages 20, 24, and 14 were hit. The 20-year-old Dario Lloyd subsequently died at hospital.
The residents I spoke to only live a few meters away from the scene of the crime. They preferred to speak off camera.
Last night, I was in my gallery again, my hair flat from my next door neighbor. And as soon as my hair done flat, I went inside and come and I hear pats, I ran and come back out. I see everybody scampering. And I ran and went down the road and I see the fella down on the ground, but I didn't know it was Dario. And my daughter running and calling the children, they calling these my grandchildren, they calling everybody. I did so frightened. About 9 or 10 shots at leg over.
Dario was described as a quiet youngster who kept to himself. Now residents are even more concerned for the safety of children in Britain's Hill.
A lot of children was outside. All campers was outside. My grandmother was outside. My brother was outside. My cousins. A lot of little children, a little girl there running about. It feel bad about it because it ain't first time it happened. I want to see more protection over in the area. And police look at this more serious. This happening all the time. Ain't first time, as I tell you. I want more protection in the neighborhood. I want that track there block off. I will let every people could do that for me, block off the track.
Now, no arrests have been made so far as it relates to the investigation, but when we arrived here, a police detail was making its way through the area. They did pick up one man. We don't know who he is or what he has to do with this investigation, but we will bring you more details as they come to hand. I'm Shane Seeley for CBC News.
Thanks, Shane. Lawmen have nabbed a Jamaican man allegedly attempting to smuggle drugs into the island through the Grantley Adams International Airport. 28-year-old Kevin Reed arrived by air from Jamaica on Monday, was interviewed by drug squad personnel and later referred to customs. His luggage was examined and the illegal drug weighing 1.6 kilograms was allegedly discovered concealed in a false compartment of his suitcase. Reid is to appear at the District B Magistrates Court tomorrow to answer a number of drugs charges. Well, we'll have more news ahead, but first we want to hear from you on the question, do you believe Barbados needs stiffer gun laws? Text to short code 8111. We'll have the answer for you at the end of the news.
Coconut energy from Africa.
You called it the most wonderful time of the year. The clock is ticking and the time is near. Sunday, July 20th. It's Soca on the Hill. Guess the band is coming. Edwin Yearwood and Crossfire. Cassie, Mikey, and Blood of Soca Cartel. Blacks, Little Rick, Skinny Fabulous, Gorg, Red Plastic Bag, the best of Crop Over, and more still to come. Get your tickets before someone else does and leaves you crying. Sunday, July 20th. Farley Hill National Park, Barbados. Soca on the Hill. A million ways to party.
An assurance to the disabled community that the revised National Building Code makes provisions for newly constructed buildings to facilitate them. It comes from Jonathan Platt, Technical Officer with the Barbados National Standards Institute, or BNSI. He made the comments as he highlighted parts of the building code at a town hall meeting hosted by the Institute and the Barbados Council for the Disabled at the Clock Tower at the Garrison. Mr. Platt says the code, which was approved in July 2013, mandates that buildings allow independent access for persons with disabilities.
Access to and movement within a building. This is of particular importance to persons with disabilities, as the purpose of this part is to ensure, as far as reasonably practicable, that buildings are accessible to all users, including persons with disabilities, who should be able to gain access to and within buildings without assistance. And I think that's the key expression, isn't it? You'd like your independence, why shouldn't you have it?
Speaking about the building code in general, Mr. Platt says it had to be revised to meet the times.
With respect to the building components and the method of construction, we know that has changed. From the building of shuttle houses to prefabricated houses to form houses, so we have to address those issues too. Also, throughout the Caribbean, we've seen the effects of climate change in our region. With the increased intensity of natural phenomena, which has facilitated the need for the revision of the National Building Code. The 93 edition has 6 parts. We now have 18 parts to the document.
The Sanitation Service Authority's ongoing effort to eliminate illegal dumping from city streets is shaping up to be a mammoth task. Ryan Broom has that story.
Just 24 hours after the Sanitation Service Authority carted away 15 truckloads of garbage from a city district last Friday, workers returned to find that their efforts were in vain. Public Relations Officer for the SSA, Carol Padmore, said it was almost as if someone waved a magic wand and dumped more garbage in the same location at King William Street. In an interview with CBC, Mr. Padmore said he was disgusted about the way people were inconsiderately dumping their waste in city communities. He said the authority and the Ministry of Health are implementing a number of measures to help residents of these communities with the proper disposal of their bulk waste. The SSA's PRO also says that the authority makes weekly trips to city communities to clean up garbage, but the illegal dumping is now getting unbearable to clean, especially with the limited manpower available. Last Friday, workers from the authority had to remove a dismantled two-bedroom house and its contents from the King William Street area. It was one of the worst acts of illegal dumping that workers have had to deal with in recent times. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Thanks, Ryan. A political activist says there is a feeling of hopelessness in the country, and he has accused the government of not having a nation-building agenda. Leader of the Clement Payne movement, David Comishong, made the comments during a press conference at the Clement Payne Cultural Center. He extended an invitation to all Barbadians to join the University of Independence Square for a public meeting. That meeting is scheduled to be held on Saturday, July 19th in Independence Square under the theme, Let's Get Barbados Back on Track. Speakers include Hallie Haynes, president of the Barbados Cooperative Credit Union League, Lynette Holder, executive director of the Barbados Small Business Association, and political scientist Dr. Tennyson Joseph. The aim of the meeting is primarily to give Barbadians hope at a time when the country is going through an economic crisis.
We want to bring a message of hope and optimism to the Barbadian people. We are saying to the Barbadian people that there are solutions. We are not at a dead end. We are not hopeless. There are solutions to the crisis facing us, and there are solutions that come out of a nationalist or nation-building framework.
To a person with dyslexia, the world of words may be complex. This, however, hasn't stopped Sylvester Clark from writing a book detailing how he's lived with the condition. He tells CBC News the book, My Journey to Freedom, was penned to heighten awareness about dyslexia and the myriad challenges dyslexics face.
So the idea is to get persons more aware of dyslexia and the challenges, what we have to go through in life as dyslexic persons. Flow to application form. I remember once I went to a very recognized person in Barbados to work the salesman. And because I couldn't spell the person, the secretary, she just followed the application and put it in the spell basket.
Mr. Clark, CEO and president of Bajan Stars Dyslexia and Support Organization, wants employers to be a bit more sensitive to people with dyslexia and give them a chance to show their worth in the workforce.
I realized that person myself can succeed and will succeed only if you get a chance. When I was living in Trinidad, I was a very successful salesman with a big company in Trinidad selling all kinds of different stuff. And I know I could be mega success with that company.
The book, My Journey to Freedom, is available at Day's Bookstore and the author himself. The Barbados culinary team has returned home victorious from this year's Taste of the Caribbean competition in Miami. The 10-member team won 11 awards, including Team Silver. They also captured the prestigious Hans Schank Commemorative Award for Most Innovative Menu using indigenous ingredients, along with the Best Non-Alcoholic Drink and Best Rum Drink, won by bartender Rohan Hackshaw. Assistant Executive Vice President of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Michelle Smith-Mears, traveled with the team. She says she's very pleased with the team's performance despite their inexperience.
Their training period was a longer period and more intense because you are now not only training them to cook for competition, but there are elements of technique, etc., that you would have had to train them with, and older or chefs that have higher positions in their kitchens would have that knowledge. But these chefs were so enthusiastic and so personally invested in everything that they did for the competition. They really put their heart and soul out, and they were rewarded with a silver medal.